So today we're going to talk about decimal place value. In your notes section you have this handout. It's our notes for today. You can print it or you can choose not to. So go ahead and pause the video, give yourself some time. We're going to put it together. Let me tell you how to put it together first. So we're going to cut it in half. Some scissors, cut it in half. I'll do one page at a time. And then you have page numbers down here. So it tells you what order to kind of stack them up in. So go ahead and pause the video now. Give yourself some time to stack them up 1 through 6. And unpause the video when you're done. So there were actually 7 pages. And the last page looks like this. And you can cut your flaps, pause it again, cut your flaps, or you can wait till the end. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to staple these together so that I know that they're my decimal place value notes, and they'll all stay together. That's an empty stapler. Okay, so it says the location of each digit in a number is called what? Well, it's called your place value. It determines the value of the digit. The place value to the left of the decimal represents whole numbers, while the place values to the right of the decimal represent your fractional values. The decimal place value begins with tenths place, then hundredths place, and then thousandths place. So, moving on, we're going to fill in our little graphic here. So what did it tell us about the numbers to the left of the decimal? In our paragraph above, it told us what they were. It told you they were the whole numbers. Place values to the left of the decimal represent, we'll underline this one in pink, to the right of the decimal is our fractional values. So whole numbers, and then the ones to the left of the decimal are our fractional values. So what we're going to do below is we're going to write their fractional values in each one. So our whole numbers would be represented for place value. If you had tens, what do they look like? These are your ones place, these are your tens place. So you would write 10 is here because that's how tens look. There is a number in front of a 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and so forth. And then you have your ones here. And your fractional values are represented as fractions. 1/10, 1/100th, 1/1000th. So that gives us what each place value is labeled, called. So we have our decimal here. The tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Flipping it up, let's go look at our next one. So it says color one section in each of the squares below. So we're going to color one section. Go ahead, pause your video, or we can do it together, whichever you choose. So you're going to color one section in each one. So my ones, it's a whole. It's not broken up, so we're going to color the whole thing, shade the whole thing. I'm going to do it a little quickly, just shading it in. So in the next one, you look that it divided my whole into tenths, or into 10 equal pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to shade 1/10. In hundredths, if you look, we divided vertically here, and they did horizontally here. 1/100th by 10. And then 1/1000th was divided into 10 spaces again. So, what do you notice about the value of 1 in each of the different place values? Pause your video, write your response below, and come back and we'll talk about it. So you should have come across something along the lines of each value is smaller than the last. So again, your whole, so your tenth is smaller than your one whole. So it's keep getting smaller. Then your hundredth is smaller than your tenths, and your thousandths are smaller than your hundredths. A piece is split 10 times to make the next value. Again, we looked at 1, we divided it into 10 equal parts to get tenths. We took the tenths and divided them into 10 equal parts to get hundredths, and then they did the same thing for the thousand. So it says a piece is split 10 times to make the next value. So it's 1 is worth 1/10 of the previous value. So going on to the next page. So each time you move one place value to the right of a decimal, the value is 1/10 the value before it. Another way to say that is that you can divide by 10 to move the place value to the right. So we're going to use this graphic below to kind of show the pattern of the value. So again, what it said up here, it says as you move to the right, the value is 1/10 before it, of the value before it. Or you can divide by 10 to move to the right. So we're going to divide, if we take 10, and divide it by 10, what will we get? 10 divided by 10. How many times can 10 go into 10? How many groups of 10 can you get out of 10? Only 1, so minus 1. 0 minus 0, 1 minus 1. So we're going to divide. So over here we're going to write divide by 10 each time. Oop, one more. So now we want to write what they look like for their place value in a decimal form or in a fractional form. So in decimal form, the numbers to the left of the decimal are whole numbers. So we just have one place to the left. So that's our ones place. It's just going to look like this as a decimal. Tenths as a decimal is going to have, it's just going to be one place value to the right of the decimal. Hundredths are going to be 2 place values to the right of the decimal. And thousandths are going to be 3 place values to the right of the decimal. Okay, fraction form. A whole number to the left of the decimal point is a whole number, can be written as 1, just like this. As a fraction, 1/10 is written as 1 part over 10 total pieces. Hundreds are the same, or similar, 1 over 100 pieces. Thousandths are 1 piece out of 1,000. Okay, turning over to the next page. We're going to look at writing them in expanded notation. So, write the number 357 thousandths in the place value grid. So the place value grid tells us, the number says we're thousandths, so the place value gives us, the grid gives us 1, 2, 3. Our tenths, our hundredths, our thousandths. So pause the video, see what you can write, see what you can do, and then come back. So 357 is written as 357, and we say thousandths because our number stops in the thousandths place. We read it just like we would, and then we say thousandths because that's where it stops. So our next thing is we're going to use the grid to transfer the numbers to expanded notation. I'm going to move my 3 here because this is my tenths value place. Hundredths, thousandths, and if you look, they're represented right here in decimal form. So I'm going to bring my 3 down here to my tenths, my 5 here, and my 7 here. So we're going to rewrite the number on the line in expanded form. So I need to erase what I. So a little review from last year when multiplying. We talked, I know some of y'all talked last year about it, and I know we got stopped in our coronavirus loveliness. So a little bit of a review for multiplication. When you are multiplying, you line up your numbers, not your decimals. So I have 0.0 0.0 or 0.1, and that's my 1/10. In my value, I have 3 of those, so I'm going to multiply it by 3. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our ones place, we're going to take, and we're going to go up 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 0 is 0. And we're going to take our decimal place and move it down into the same place. No, that is not what we're doing. So we're not doing it down. That is what you do in addition. Though it works for this problem, it does not work for all. We all make mistakes. So 0.1 times 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 0 is 0. In multiplication, you're going to count the place value behind the number of place values behind the decimal, or to the right of the decimal. So in this one, we just have 1. So we're just going to make our answer have 1. Okay, so that's going to give us that this is going to be 3/10. Really sorry, guys. Plus, we're going to look at our hundredths. Same thing. I have 1/100. I'm going to multiply that by, I had 5. Multiply it by 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0, again, is 0. I'm going to count my decimal places in my problem. I have 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to put my decimal place right there. So I'm going to have 0 whole numbers. I don't have any tenths for this number, and I have 5 hundredths. How about you try for the 7 thousandths? See what you can do. Pause the video. So you should have something that looked like this, where you took your 7 and multiplied it by your 1,000. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 0 is 0. And again, 7 times 0 is 0. We counted our decimal places, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and put my decimal in. Finished our problem. That is how you write a decimal in expanded notation using decimals. So we're going to go and look at it in fraction form. So we're going to look at a different number. Go ahead and write the number 268 thousandths in the place value grid. Pause it, write it, see what you can do on your own. So we should have 268 thousandths. We say it, and we add the thousandths at the end because that's where the digit stops. We're going to transfer to the grid here. Oh, thought I was paused. So we transfer to the grid. We're going to do the same thing. I want a different marker. Okay, so we're going to look at and review what it is to multiply a whole number by a fraction. So to multiply a whole number by a fraction, you take your whole number, you multiply it by our 1/10. You can just multiply it like this, your top numbers together, and leave your fractional value. So that would be 2 times 1 is 2 and tenths. You can also take it, turn your whole number into a fraction by putting it over 1, because I have 2 wholes. 1 is a whole. So times 1/10. Do top times top. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 10 is 10. We should have 2 tenths. Go ahead and pause the video. See what you can do for hundredths and thousandths. So for hundredths and thousandths, you had 6 times our 1/100ths. It's easier for me to look at it like this. So 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 100 is 100. So that's going to give us our 6 plus 6 hundredths. So now we have 8 plus, or times, look at there, 1,000 top times top. 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. Plus 8 thousandths. That's how you would write it in fractional form. So moving on. Now I want you to write each one. You have 4 numbers for decimal form and 4 numbers for fraction form. Go ahead and pause the video, give it a shot. The next thing, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. So for decimal form, I have 7/10 and 5/100. And we're combining them. So 7/10 combined is adding 5/100. No tenths, 5/100. Okay? Again, the same thing. I don't have any tenths here. Do I have to write it? Maybe. No. You can, or you can skip it. It's perfectly acceptable. So you can write it like this. So I have 0.0 plus I had 9/100 and 6,000ths. Okay. So our next one, it has numbers to the left of our decimal point. So those are whole numbers. But you've looked at that before. We'll go ahead and review it here, and then you can do the next one. We have 20, or 2 in the tens place. So I have a 2 in the tens place. I'm going to make it nothing in our ones place because I want to represent the tens place. The tens place. Then I'm going to add my 3 ones for 23, plus I have 6/10. So 0 decimal 6. 20 plus 3, 20 tens plus 3 ones plus 6/10. Go ahead and look at this next one. It has a number to the left of the decimal. So it's going to be our whole number 3 plus we have 9/10 plus 8/100 plus 5,000ths. To do it in fractional form, I have no whole numbers, nothing to the left of the decimal. I have 7/10, so remember 7 over 10 for the tenths, plus 9/100 plus 2,000ths. Again, no whole numbers, just decimals. I have my tenths. You can write it like this: hundredths and thousandths. How many tenths? 4. How many hundredths? You don't have any. How many thousandths? 5. Whole numbers again to the left of our decimal. 5 tens, so that's represented as 50. 6 ones, and 5 tenths. And the last one is 9 and 322 thousandths. So again, 9 ones plus, we're going to look at it this way, 3 tenths, 2 hundredths, and 2 thousandths. Word form, you're going to write the words. So, step 1, write the name of the whole number. This one is 23. They wrote 23 here. For the decimal, you say and. This is very important. If you don't say and in your word problem, your word form, it's not correct because and represents the decimal. And the next one step says the name of the decimal number 52, because there's 52 here, and you say the place value of the last digit, which is thousandths. So let's do a couple, and then I'm going to let you pause the video and do a few and come back and check. So the first one is 2.8. So 2 and 8, my last place value is tenths. So I'm going to write 2 and 8 Place value is tenth. I'm going to do this last one here with you, and you can go do the ones in the middle. I have 6, decimal, 4 in the tens place, 3 in the hundreds place. That reads 6 and 43 hundredths. It writes as 6 and 43 hundredths. Pause. Should have written 309 thousandths for this one. This one would have been 50 and, our whole number decimal, so 50 and, I have 6, my and's in the thousandths place. Last page. So this is meant to be glued in our composition notebook. I do have the instructions in the welcome page if you are keeping up with our composition notebook with us at home. So under each tab, write the name of the place value, write the value of the digit using a decimal number, write the value of the digit using a fractional number, and under the decimal tab, write the word that you say when you read the decimal. Okay, so I turned mine a little this way so that I could write a little better. So the first one writes the name of the place value. This first one is in our ones place value. So you should have written under here if you're using the ones. You could have used the blank paper. This is our tenths. Hundredths. That didn't write well that way, did it? Okay, so this is your thousandths. Your next thing they want you to write is the value of the decimal. So write the value of the digit using a decimal number. So this one again would just be our one whole number. This is 4 tenths, so 0, 4 tenths, 8 hundredths, 0, and 5 thousandths. And then fractional form. Again, this one's just going to be 1. 4 tenths is 4 tenths, so 4 over 10. 8 is 8 hundredths, so 8 over 100. Would you write this number in word form? We would write it in word form. I'm just going to say it. We don't have any room. 1 and 485 thousandths. And you would write it in expanded notation. I'm going to write it right here. Erase my stuff. Expanded notation is 1, 4 tenths plus 8 hundredths plus 5 thousandths. So what I want you to do next is to get your workbook and go to page 21 and 22 and complete the odds. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. Once you complete those, you should submit your answers in the answer document under your assignment tab. And y'all have a good day.